going on? What's going on? What's going on, world? Welcome to the Life Malcolm Show, right here on In Touch News Radio, where everybody is a star, and the biggest star is you. I am your host, Life Malcolm, and as is my custom, just got to give a big, happy, grateful, gracious, generous, all kinds of effervescent thank yous to in my view, one of the pillars of the community. The whole In Touch News enterprise has for years been holding it down for the Bay Area, providing news, entertainment, jokes. You know, we need to laugh to do it the heart good like a medicine. And so just, In Touch News has been here for decade after decade after decade, providing that in the form of print, and now committed, dedicated 100% to bringing it to you live and living color with, the sounds of social consciousness, entertainment, economic empowerment, and me, whatever whatever it is I do here. And so I just really want to appreciate my main man, DJ CEO, and Mrs. DJ CEO, aka Tampa Bay Tammy, for making this thing happen for the community and for everybody who tunes in to the Life Malcolm Show. Speaking of tuning in, you can tune in at www.intouchnews.com. You can also check us out on the In Touch News YouTube channel and the In Touch News Facebook page. You can call in too. It's a call-in show. Call-in number is 813-444-9588. That is 813-444-9588. And, of course, I have to give big shout-outs and thank yous to my mystery man behind the board. If it's still a mystery to you, then you are a mystery to me. My mystery man behind the board, holding it down, doing this thing, making us look and sound as pristine as we do. And, of course, I have to thank you for tuning in, whether you're watching live or whether you, check us out later at your convenience. So now that I got all those thank yous out of the way, go ahead and jump right into it. I'm gonna save my whatevers for the end of the program. But right now we have special guests in the building. I don't know. Alvaro ain't really no guest no more. He more like he's like a what do they call it? A correspondent? Yeah, he's a Life Malcolm Show correspondent. He comes in here quite often, but every time Alvaro's in the building, and Alvaro Montealegre, by the way. Alvaro, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, Life.
Good. Thank you so much for being here. And Alvaro always brings in very important guests. Not that a person is any more important than another person, but the persons Alvaro brings to the Life Malcolm Show are important, not because of who they are, but because of what they do, the work they do, the benefit they provide to the struggle of for liberation and betterment of our society as a whole. So today we have Laura with us. Laura is a member of the now, I don't know if the appropriate word is famous or infamous, but either way, the resilient group now known across the nation and maybe in some places around the world as the Tampa Five. Everybody clap it up for Laura. And Laura, I want to tell you I appreciate you being here. And Alvaro wants to tell me something too. What's going on, Alvaro?
Laura's a wonderful person, a tremendous and great activist. She's been nominated for Activist of the Year for CEL, Greater Loving's recognition.
Okay.
I want to let you know that we're speaking with someone who is very, very active and very sharp and very intelligent organizer.
Good, good. I'm looking forward to hearing all about it. Laura, go ahead and tell the world who you are, about yourself, and of course, I'm gonna ask you some questions, but I want to give you the opportunity to kind of set the tone.
Well, thank you for inviting me on your show. I really do appreciate it. So I guess I'll start off with who I am and what I've been up to over the past couple of years. So I'm Laura Rodriguez. I got my start in organizing during the George Floyd Rebellion, and I started working with SDS, and they really Tampa Bay Students for a Democratic Society at the University of South Florida, and they really helped aid the movement here in Tampa. They were the first group to hold a protest, and I believe that protest had about 5,000 attendees on Fowler Boulevard, and that was the protest that I went up right away, and I was like, how do I continue doing this, because this is amazing. And I was a part of their increased black enrollment campaign, and I've since graduated. And since I've graduated, I feel a little a little weird being a part of a student organization. So I was like, what is there to do for? And now that I'm not a student, so I joined Tampa Bay Community Action Committee here in Tampa, and I've been a part of the struggles for to increase the budget for housing. So specifically to get more money for people who need rental assistance and affordable housing. As well as the struggle to strengthen the Civilian Review Board here in Tampa, because we know that there are a number of police crimes that go without justice for years at a time, specifically the cases of Dominique Mulkey, Jonas Joseph, Andrew Joseph III, and Josiah Pinner. And so that's kind of what I've been working on. It's a group that focuses on police crimes, but also community issues, and to talk about why specifically I'm here today. I was.
Oh, hold on, hold on. We'll get to that. So, are you from Tampa?
I'm not.
Okay, where are you from?
I'm from Jacksonville.
Okay, Duval.
Duval.
Oh, yeah. What brought you to Tampa?
School.
Okay.
Rest in power. Ben Frazier is an activist, long-term activist in Tampa, and he passed away at, I believe, at 71 years old. He was a powerhouse in Tampa, or in Jacksonville, and he passed away within the past week. So I just wanted to.
Okay, right on, right out. Shout out to Ben, Mr. Frazier, right on. But so you went to USF?
Yeah.
All right. What'd you study there?
I was a biology major.
Okay.
Nothing too serious, but that's kind of what I was doing on the side, and STS was fun.
Yeah, the reason I asked that question is because it hopefully gives the people listening in the audience, the notion that you don't have to go to school as like a social worker or somebody interested in politics or something like that to get involved. So no matter what you study, no matter what you anticipate your profession might be or your career goals are, working to make the world a better place should be a part of a student experience. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely.
Good. So I just wanted to kind of pull that out a little bit for people because a lot of people have excuses, like reasons why they can't do it or won't do it or what have you. And certainly a biology major sounds like it requires a lot of work, a lot of academic exercise, but you still found time to organize, and I just wanted to make sure that listeners know and see that you are living proof that can be done. That's what we should do. So okay, so you get to Tampa and go to USF, right? And how did you get involved with the SDS, the Students for Democratic Society?
Yeah. So I had always seen them around campus, and I was like, like all the time I would see them like holding protests or holding like meetings to talk about what student life on the campus is. But I would always kind of like watch it from a distance, but never actually went there and to the meetings and whatnot. And it wasn't until I heard a speech about honestly about liberation that I was like, oh, this is what this is all about. It's not just people screaming into a void. It's people moving with a purpose and putting demands out and putting demands that are winnable, not some utopian. It's concrete solutions to concrete problems.
Right on. All right, so now you joined SDS, and you said, I think, you mentioned the George Floyd rebellions. How did that play a role in your development with the SDS?
So the people at SDS are wonderful, and a lot of them are really well read. And I began being influenced by a lot of works about like the Black Liberation Movement, specifically on like by Harry Haywood.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're learning about the Black Belt as a nation, as an oppressed nation in the U.S. and how like Tampa is on the outskirts of the Black Belt, but I'm also from Jacksonville, so it's very much within the Black Belt, and so I understand that the material conditions of like where we are currently in Tampa, where there is a one-third or about one-third of the population is Black and is very much affected by the laws that are in place and the long history of the United States.
And so how did the George Floyd rebellion play a role in that? Didn't you mention the George Floyd rebellion and the SDS when you started talking about how you're organizing? So I wanted to kind of pull out some details, if you will, about like what about the because the George Floyd rebellion did catch the attention of many people around the world, and so just wanted to just kind of chop it up a little finer regarding your experience with that particular event and the influence it had on you, SDS, and the work you do now.
Mm-hmm. So throughout the years that I've been active, I've come to understand that history happens through social movement and people power, and the George Floyd rebellion was absolutely insane. You had 25 million people out on the streets. You had demands from all across not only the nation but the world, and it was a highlight of how police crimes are a symptom of a larger force. It's not things that happen independently. It's that what we live under. It's made to oppress people. It's made to oppress Black folks. It's made to oppress Chicanos and working class people, and that. In SDS, that's the purpose of organizing within the George Floyd rebellion is to lessen the oppression, to propel demands forward, to make things more equitable. So one of the demands of SDS, obviously increased Black enrollment, but it was specifically increased Black enrollment to reflect the population in Tampa, give scholarships that are not for a semester, but for the entirety while someone's in school.
Mm-hmm.
Give thousands of dollars rather than $500 per semester, which is just unaffordable for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Make campus safer for students. So that means demilitarizing USFPD, pulling them out of the 1033 program, which gives them access to military-grade weapons. Hiring more mental health counselors, because at this time we can't remove the fact that we were living in a very isolated under COVID, and that was causing a lot of people to have problems, just like long-term health-wise and mental health-wise, and as well as just increasing the staff of the number of Black staff and faculty at USF, which gives a more welcoming environment. Because when you listen, when I listen to Black folks speak, often I hear I'll look across the room and count how many Black folks I see. It kind of makes people uncomfortable if it's only like you. And so you need to increase the numbers to make the space safe for all of us.
I hear break music coming on. This is good conversation. I hate to stop it right now, but we do have to take a break. We'll take a quick break, though, and we'll be right back. This is the Life Malcolm Show. I'm here with my main man, Alvaro Montealegre, and Laura Rodriguez, right here on the Life Malcolm Show, and we'll be right back.
Hey, this is Tampa Bay Tammy. Don't forget to pick up your copy of In Touch News.
Who doesn't love being number one? When your team's dominating the standings, or your favorite band rocks the charts at number one, it feels good, right? Kind of like how it feels when you have auto insurance with State Farm. Because making you feel like number one is an honor your local State Farm agent takes seriously. Through the good times and not so good, your State Farm agent's proud to be here to help life go right.
Call Herman White at 961-6661. That's 961-6661.
Call Ricky. Ask Ricky. You need medical or a lawyer? I got the man to do the legwork for you. We tried the other ones before, so believe we hunted down 813-248-6300. Everything gon' be okay. Call Ricky, he coming. He taking kids, state of Florida. Grab a pen of sundown. 1-800-361 Rick. That's 1-800-361-7425. Never word from the point forward, just recline. Just ask Ricky, plus your boy statewide. Just in case you missed it, I'ma tell you one more time. 1-800-361 Rick. Call Ricky, ask Ricky is a legal medical referral service. The doctors and lawyers in our network are trained in handling auto injury claims and giving you the best medical treatment and recovery. Dial 1-844-361 Rick. That's 1-844-361-7425. Ricky. Ask Ricky.
In Touch Radio, where you can listen to a cruising flow of smooth soul and jazz, today's R&B, a fun touch of hip-hop and gospel.
All my music on one station.
Giving you a buffet of music, news, and entertainment. We're In Touch Radio.
Yo. Welcome back, world, to the Life Malcolm Show, right here on In Touch News Radio, where everybody gets a star, and the biggest star is you. Of course, this is a call-in, so you can call us at 813-444-9588. We're having a good discussion. Right now, we're taking it easy. You haven't missed too much. You missed, all the pertinent introductions. But just to kind of catch you up to speed, I'm talking with my main man, Alvaro Montealegre, and Laura Rodriguez, who is one member of the Tampa Five. The Tampa Five, as you know, I think it was, March 6th? March 6th, during protest, found themselves attacked by USF police, that's University of South Florida Police, brutalized and arrested by those police simply for standing up, exercising their First Amendment rights and demanding a better world, demanding that that people at USF who could do something stand up with them to make the world a better place. And instead of finding allies through that process, they found arrests and handcuffs and what have you. But I'm not going to talk too much about it. We have Miss Laura Rodriguez here with us to tell the story herself. So, Laura, back to you. You were saying that it was important around that time that the George Floyd rebellion sparked people around the world to be active, that you, along with SDS, used that moment and momentum to further the work that you all had been doing at that time. So just kind of pick up from there and bring us up to what happened March 6th of this year.
Yeah, so, SDS held steady on the increased black enrollment campaign, and all of a sudden, the reaction of DeSantis's administration and DeSantis himself was very obvious from right at the end of a little bit after when Derek Chauvin was convicted. So you saw quote unquote anti-riot laws, which were just anti-protest laws, and that was essentially saying that protesters didn't have the right to take the streets anymore, that they were allowed to be run over, and just a whole host of other things. And it's a direct violation of our First Amendment right. And increasingly with this legislative session, it was an attack on literally everyone, from Black history to diversity in schools, to immigration, to public union sectors. He attacked anyone and everyone he could during this time, and at SDS, at this point in time, I'm not a part of SDS, I'm just in the community.
Okay.
And SDS decided to have a protest demanding that the USF president, Ray Allah, denounce HB 99, which was the one that would take Black history out of schools or out of higher education, and that would stop funding for any multicultural groups or any on-campus group that is funded, and the purpose is to promote diversity. That's no longer being funded. So, and you have you have majors being starting to be discontinued. So African American Studies, Women and Gender Studies, and a whole host of others we're not going to see them in Florida come 2 years.
Really? I'm an Africana Studies major. Graduated from USF. Yeah, so I didn't realize that is this the law that attacks those programs, the HB 99? I didn't realize that. I tend not to pay too much attention to those people who, the colonizers and what they do. I didn't really do what they do. But I tend to spend most of my time and energy focused on, doing what we can to create dual and contending power with those forces. So sometimes I miss the details, unless the details become particularly germane to something that has my attention. So I didn't know that the bill. I hear just on the peripheral, that that this guy Ron DeSantis at least has made moves that seem to seek to take Black history out of schools, or at least take Black history or books out of certain higher education institutions. So I kind of got that, but this is the first time I've heard the idea that these programs are actually, attacked by that same law. So that I appreciate that information. But please go ahead.
Yeah, and more specifically, professors are just not going to be able to teach anymore because their tenure will be attacked because Governor DeSantis can impose whoever he wants to do the school, and those people can assert who gets to stay there essentially. So if you're too radical or anything like that, you kind of get booted. But yeah, so SDS, the demands of that protest were to get the USF presidents to denounce HB 999, to resume the search for a vice president of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Board, and as well as to increase Black enrollment with the demands that I've talked about previously, and they have attempted multiple times to get in contact with Ray Allah. They even went.
Who tried to get in touch with her?
SDS.
Okay.
To submit the demands because they even went to her commencement or her ceremony where they were she is now the president.
Okay.
The whole whatever. And they had a banner drop there, and they interrupted it. And you can even go online and watch the videos where she's welcomed as the USF president, and you hear the students in the background chanting, "Increase Black enrollment now."
Where can you find that video? Just Google?
Yeah, you can probably find it on the Tampa Bay SDS Instagram and Facebook.
Okay. All right. If one wanted to Google that, what would you suggest as the query? What would they type in the little search box?
USF president interrupted, or students interrupt USF president commencement ceremony.
Okay. Good. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Go ahead, please.
And so, these students are active and they're consistent, and that's on USF campus, and they work with other groups, and they got a lot of groups on campus to sign on to the campaign. And so that day they were at the student center. They were outside the student center, and they were hosting a protest with many student speakers coming. I got there a little late, and then the MC of that protest goes, let's go show Ray Law our demands and what we want this university to be. And so that turned into a march from the Marshall Center to the Patel Center, and the Patel Center houses on the 4th floor the president's office. So we marched through campus. I saw a couple of people join us, if I'm not mistaken, and we marched into the lobby of the Patel Center.
And we're talking about March 6th now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
On March 6th. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
This is March 6th.
Okay.
And so we're in the lobby, maybe about 5 minutes. We're hearing the demands once again, that the students really want a meeting with Ray Law. And I somehow got roped into holding a banner. So I know a lot of them. So they're like, "Oh, Laura, can you hold the banner?" And I'm like, "Oh, sure, yeah."
Okay.
So I'm off to the side, and I remember turning around, and I saw probably about 14 cops come through the side entrance. And I was like, this is weird. This doesn't normally happen. And it'll be 2 cops in a golf cart far away.
Right.
And then they talked to some university. He's not a USFPD officer. He's always at protests just to make sure that students are quote unquote safe. He was the one who called the police that day. And he was talking to 2 prominent members of SDS.
You know that person's name?
Matt Marshall.
Okay, Matt Marshall. Matt Marshall called the police,
Yes.
who ended up beating you up or
Yes.
brutalizing you and the other Tampa 3, right?
So,
Right.
so specifically, he instead of he called the chief of police on his cell phone personally,
Okay.
which that's not normally protocol, if from what my understanding is.
Mm-hmm.
And so Matt Marshall was talking to these 2 individuals, and the chief of police walks up, and he's not in a uniform. He has a shirt, and honestly, he looks like a worker from far away, and if you didn't know who he was, you wouldn't assume he was the chief of police.
Mm-hmm.
And so he starts immediately being sternly talking to these 2 women, and within 42 seconds, again, it's on video, within 42 seconds of him storming up and talking down to these 2 individuals, never giving a warning, never giving a time of saying you have 2 minutes to leave the building before people will be, never gave that, put his hand on one of the students who was saying that we are here to give the demands and that they wanted a meeting with Ray Law, and he immediately put his hand on her to grab her and pull her, and of course it was very shocking to her, and she started slipping, and she grabbed a hold of the banner to keep herself steady, and chaos just ensued from that.
What do you mean?
So because people walked forward to help the student who was falling, all of the other police officers who were amped up by the chief of police started just coming in and attacking us even more. While we were
We're going to take a break.
Mhm.
Going to stop right there. So where we are right now, about 14 USF cops have stormed the protesters. The chief of police, do you know his name by any chance?
Chris Daniel.
Chris Daniel. Well, we like to name names here. Matt Marshall calls Chris Daniel. Chris Daniel gets on the scene and begins this hostile approach to students, puts his hands on one of the students, and chaos ensues. And we're going to pick up right there when we get back. It's the Life Now Show, y'all. We're here with Laura Rodriguez, the heroic members of the Tampa 5, and of course, Mr. Alvaro Montevideo.
Fraternity is hosting 3 fantastic parties in Tampa, Florida, and you can be a part of all the fun with their package ticket options. The package includes access to the Crimson Takeover Party at Armature Works, the Cream Jam All-White Party at the Aquarium, and the Culmination Ball at the JW Marriott. Limited tickets are available for purchase online at KappaConclave2023.com. Don't miss out on this exclusive opportunity to experience all 3 events.
We're playing your favorite old school. Today's R&B. With a smooth touch of jazz. You're listening to In Touch Radio.
Who doesn't love being number one? When your team's dominating the standings, or your favorite band rocks the charts at number one, it feels good, right? Kind of like how it feels when you have auto insurance with State Farm. Because making you feel like number one is an honor your local State Farm agent takes seriously. Through the good times and not so good, your State Farm agent's proud to be here to help life go right.
Call Herma White at 961-6661. That's 961-6661.
Yo, yo, yo. Welcome back to the Life Malcolm Show. I'm your host, Life Malcolm, right here on In Touch News Radio, where everybody is a star and the biggest star is you. Right before we went to break, we were talking to Laura Rodriguez about her encounter with the USF police on March 6th that ended up in her arrest and her brutality brutality at the hands of the USF police and her subsequent arrest. So, Laura, just pick up right where you started and continue telling us the story.
Yeah, so we kind of walked, to help out one of our fellow students, and the police, I guess, were just on edge and just waiting to go for it, and other members of the USF PD stepped forward and began attacking students. Lauren Pinero, one of those arrested a month later, was actually punched in the head multiple times. And Gia Davila, who was leading the protest, who was on the opposite side of the banner, on the right side of the banner, walks over to see what's happening and is immediately taken down by Chris Daniels. He, in some videos, clears her, and Gia's 5'11". She's a tall, skinny girl, about 6 inches off the ground, and she's thrown headfirst on the ground, with her arms being crunched around her and detained. And as he's trying to detain her, he sexually assaults her, and that's caught on film where he gropes her, and it's one of the most I witnessed it, and that's why I was dragged across the floor, and I was just being pushed onto the floor, and everything was wet. Somebody had spilled their drink, but they're saying that in the police reports, they're saying a strawberry scented liquid was poured over the cops, but it was 93 degrees outside. Everybody had water or a drink or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was able to kind of stand back up, and I just was watching Gia, who I've known for 2 years at this point, who I've spent at least once a week with for the past 2 years, screaming at the top of her lungs, with officers sitting on top of her, on her legs, pulling her arms up while not letting her feet get under her, so it's truly just her arms are being used against her. And my friend comes over to help me, and then the police lets go of my arm, grabs her arm, and he is about 6'4" or something, and he puts his entire weight to pull her, and all he because she's screaming and crying to just like, you're hurting me, please let me go. Everybody in the crowd is saying, please let us go, please let us go. And it just continues escalating. And it wasn't until we were able to start, the chants then became let us go or let her go, something along the nature, and it got to the point where the police just like let their hands go, and we were the ones who ushered ourselves outside. We continued holding the protest outside because in the face of brutality, you must stand up, cannot cower away. And so we continued to chant outside, and we didn't know that Gia had been fully arrested at this point, had been taken away, just because of everything that was going on. There was so much happening, and what they ended up doing was coming back around, waiting probably about like 2 to 3 minutes, and they grabbed one of the protesters and violently took her down, began kicking her in her head, and everybody was just like in shock that this could happen again. And while she was being dragged to the police car, her knees were on the floor. She's being dragged. I'm stepping around. I didn't know this girl at the time, and so I just started asking if she was all right, if she was okay. And because I was walking with them as they were dragging her, they decided that I would be the next one. So they then grabbed me, pinned me up against the wall, put an arm around my neck, and thankfully my people were able to help me get that arm off my neck. And I mean, we all saw what happened when a police officer touches his neck. It's a very scary feeling. And being pinned against the wall, holding on to my friend, being just so utterly terrified of looking up at her and just going, I'm so scared right now. And then being pried off of each other, slammed to the ground, stepped on, handcuffed, and watched as my friends in the crowd were just like sobbing. Like, and I remember somebody had stomped on my ankle during that time to like, I guess subdue me.
Like one of the cops.
Yeah, it was actually the video footage showed that it was Chris Daniel, the chief of police.
Really?
Yeah. So
Where can people see this video?
It's a leaked video that is on the Tampa Bay CAC Instagram and the SDS Instagram.
Okay. What's the ats for those?
It's at Tampa Bay CAC and at Tampa Bay SDS.
Okay. All right. Good.
Pretty similar.
Yeah. Got you.
And Chrisley was arrested at that time, and Chrisley is a union worker of AFSCME Local 3342. And she was attending the protest and in support with what the students were up to. And
So she's not a student? Okay.
She was just a worker.
Got you.
And she was arrested at that time too, and we were taken all to separate police cars, driven around campus. And I remember it was like, why are we taking this route? Like when we got to our final destination, like I felt like I was paraded through the library parking garage, which like had a lot of students walking back and forth during that time. And we sat in hot cars for about 3 hours. while they deliberated over our charges. So there's many counts of from each of us of hearing the officers talk about the other protesters that they had in their car and saying that one didn't do that, so why, or so how would, or that one didn't do battery of a law enforcement officer, so we don't need to charge her with that. But then they were also emailing each other, and they I remember watching the police officer that I was in the back of his car copy from an email somebody else's report onto mine, and they were, deliberating back and forth, and those cars were hot. Hot.
So you're in the car, no air.
The air would be turned on, but when his laptop was up, it just didn't get.
I got you.
And I remember they didn't know whose handcuffs were on me, so they were trying to figure that out, and they ended up swapping them out. And one of the officers goes to me, she goes like, "Are you infected?" And I was like,
Yeah.
I could be if I don't get like peroxide on like on some of the guys.
Yeah.
She goes, no. Are you infected with HIV? And I was like, no. Are you?
Yeah.
She was like, you're bleeding all over me, and like in the moment I didn't really realize what was happening, but because the protest had been attended by a number of like LGBTQ students, it was, she was just honestly just being homophobic.
I see.
And so we
Should have told her that you were infected with colonialism.
So that one got me. So we were there in those cars for 3 hours or so and watched them charge us with felony of a law enforcement felony battery of a law enforcement officer, and 3 misdemeanors, one for trespassing, disrupting campus, and resisting without violence.
Right. They always say that.
And so then we were transported to Orient Road jail, and something that takes about 16 hours to get released if bond bail is posted immediately. And our bails were about $3,000 each. So we had people who we know in Tampa and across the nation not only donating immediately to get us out, but also calling in to the jail, and they did that in such a manner, and there's so many calls. I would probably estimate like thousands of calls that they expedited our release, so we got out in 8 instead of a normal like 18 or so.
Okay.
18.
Yeah.
And
Power of the people.
the power of the people.
Yeah.
And so after that, we held rallies and press conferences to talk about what happened, and got solidarity statements from all across the nation, from different groups at USF, from different groups in Florida, because what we were doing was standing up against DeSantis, and that needs to happen a lot here in the U.S. And
Good. That's a perfect spot to stop for our last break, because I do want to talk about what it is, if as much as you can, what it is the Tampa 5 has on the horizon regarding the case itself, and how perhaps Tampa 5 plans to invite the rest of the community to participate in winning this victory over the colonial state. So we'll wrap the show up that way, and looking forward to that. This is the Life and Alchemy Show right here with Laura Rodriguez and Alvaro Montelete.
So believe we hunted down 813-248-6300. Everything gon' be okay. Call Ricky, he coming. He taking kids state of Florida. Grab a pen of sundown. 184-361-RICK. That's 184-361-425. Never word from the point 4. it's your boy Statewide. Just in case you missed it, I'ma tell you one more time. 1-800-361-RICK. Call Ricky. Ask Ricky is a legal medical referral service. The doctors and lawyers in our network are trained in handling auto injury claims and giving you the best medical treatment and recovery. Dial 1-844-361-RICK. That's 1-844-361-7425. Ricky. Ask Ricky.
The Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity is hosting 3 fantastic parties in Tampa, Florida, and you can be a part of all the fun with their package ticket options. The package includes access to the Crimson Takeover Party at Armature Works, the Cream Jam All-White Party at the Aquarium, and the Culmination Ball at the JW Marriott. Limited tickets are available for purchase online at KappaConclave2023.com. Don't miss out on this exclusive opportunity to experience all 3 events.
We're playing your favorite old school. Today's R&B. With a smooth touch of jazz. You're listening to In Touch Radio.
3, 4, go. It's the Life Malcolm Show. Back for our last segment. It's been an incredible discussion. I hope you tune in the entire time. If not, you want to go back in and watch from the beginning. It's a horrible story in a way, because it reminds us of how vicious the colonial state has to be in order to maintain this apparatus of coercion by force that we call the state. But at the same time, it's a beautiful story. As a matter of fact, I just watched a movie that's called Collateral Beauty, and it seems kind of oxymoronic, but this is as horrible as the story is. It's just as beautiful, because it depicts the courage of young people, resilient people, and not just that, young women, showing that they understand that their role in the world is to make the world a better place through struggle, through protests, and even in the face of brutality at the hands of the colonial state. And that is a beautiful story. That is an encouraging story. That's a story that I'm glad In Touch News and my main man Alvaro has allowed us on the Life Malcolm Show to bring to you today. So, Laura, you've relived this horror for us as you retold it throughout the show. But now I want to spend the last few minutes here helping people understand what people have done so far to help with this struggle, because this is a legal battle now, right? You just mentioned the charges before we went to break. So let us know what people have done so far to help the Tampa 5 manage these legal charges, and also let people know what they can do that has been done, has not yet been done but needs doing, and also people might want to know how to get in touch with you immediately, how to get in touch with the organizations that support you as well. So again, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Talking about people power is my favorite part.
Yeah.
But something that I think is important before I jump into that is a month after March 6th, they charged a 5th person, and they charged her with the felony count and the 3 misdemeanors, and then they gave us a pretrial intervention with the conditions that if we wrote an apology letter to the police, we may or may not get our charges dropped.
Mm-hmm.
So in that would be an admission. It would be a lie to admit guilt, and then it would hinder just the student movement, any movement in general. After that, we knew that was complete BS. So we said no, and they retaliated by adding more felony charges. So I myself have 2 felony of that Leo now. So now I'm facing 10 years, as well as Chris Lee and the 3rd individual who likes to not be named for privacy reasons.
Gotcha.
And but yeah, ever since the arrest took place, we have been met with nothing but support from National Students for a Democratic Society and the National Alliance Against Racist and Political Oppression, as well as groups here in Tampa, as well as nationally. And we recently held an emergency conference. We took inspiration from how NARPR was founded. Actually, it was founded from the Committee to Free Angela Davis and all political prisoners.
Okay.
And that actually helped free Frank Chapman, who's an executive director of NARPR currently. So he was a political prisoner. He has a couple books out that are really good, actually. But anyways, and so we had this conference in order to found this committee to help not only us but any of the movement here in the state of Florida against DeSantis, because there have been protesters after us arrested for the same stuff that we're protesting.
At USF?
Or not at USF.
Okay.
There was a protester at UF
Okay.
who was protesting anti-abortion laws, and she was arrested. And we just know that here in Florida, there's a lot of political repression with one of the members of who are being raided here, and some folks down in Miami. I don't know the entirety of the story, and especially with what we're seeing in Cop City, people being raided by the FBI. We really wanted to bring as many people as possible together and pass resolutions to help defend the people of Florida. And so we brought with this the labor movement, the student movement, and like the civil liberties movement. And we're so grateful to be graced by Jim Ginecco, who's the president of the CLC here in Tampa.
What's that? What's CLC?
Central Labor Council.
Gotcha.
Really tested my knowledge of acronyms here. President Yvette Lewis of the NAACP Hillsborough spoke in support of us, and she even talked to Miss Adora, who's the president of NAACP Florida, about it, and she was in support of us. And the ACLU came out and spoke on a panel about what's been happening in Florida. And so it's big name groups like that, but it's also groups that are just here in the state of Florida that are grassroots. So Jacksonville Community Action Committee and UNAC, which is an anti-war group in Miami. I don't know what it stands for, and then we were received by tens of people from across the state. So people from Denver, SDS, and a volunteer organizer for the Palestinian Youth Movement in Detroit actually asked to come to the conference, and I was housed them in my in my home, and I got to talk with them and all that stuff. And so it's truly just people coming together, uniting under a cause, and moving forward with it. And so we're going to use this committee to help defend other people in Florida, as well as to get the charges dropped on us. And so our next date of action, which is NARPR has declared a national day of action, is July 12th, which is our next court date. That's going to be at 9 a.m. at the courthouse in Tampa, federal courthouse in Tampa.
800 East Twig Street.
Oh,
What's the insinuation there? But yeah, so tell people how they can contact whoever they should contact in order to participate in this struggle with you.
Yeah, so you can follow Tampa Bay CAC on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, and sign the petition that's within our link, and that will get you signed up for emails about when court dates are, when call-ins are, because it's actually, call-ins are really effective in shutting stuff down, especially in the offices, and any things that are particularly important will be brought to your attention, and yeah, just people's support is really helpful.
Well, Laura, I really want to appreciate you for taking the time to stop by the Life Malcolm Show and share that story. It's again, even though it's just an atrocious kind of encounter to have to recall and relive. I really appreciate you doing so, because at the same time, as ugly as it is, it's also inspirational, inspiring to those of us, not only those of us who've been in the struggle for a long time, doing this work for a long time, but also the people who are just starting to do the work, but not only that, more than that. It's inspiring to people who right now don't know what to do, because not just inspiring, it's informative, because a lot of people in the world today just don't believe the stuff that America's been pushing, that the colonial government around the world's pushed for millennia. People are starting not to believe that stuff, and people, the old people know what to do. Just don't have the youth and the strength sometimes to do it, right? And the younger people know, who are just getting in the work, know what to do, but still need the guidance. And there's some people who just don't know what to do, and you, in your example and that of the other members of the Tampa Five, have shown a guiding light on that path. I want to tell you, I told you off break, but I want to share with the listeners that I'm a member of the African People's Socialist Party, and Chairman Omali Yeshitela is the leader of the African People's Socialist Party, the leader of the African International Revolution. And yesterday, during this fundraiser for Hands Off Uhuru, Hands Off Africa, if you don't know, Chairman Omali and Penny Hess and Jesse Neville, members of our organization, found themselves under indictment for allegedly conspiring with Russians and the rest of that. The United States government accused them of that nonsense. But in reality, the only thing Chairman's ever done, and the only thing that those of us who follow Chairman has ever done so far, is to exercise our First Amendment rights, and this right to free speech and the rest of it, the right to protest, the right to assemble, and the rest of it. And that's what it is. And so Chairman, and that's what the Tampa Five essentially. That's all y'all were doing, exercising that right that this government says that we're supposed to have, right? Obviously, though, not when it opposes them, their power, their monopoly on economic, political, and military might. But the chairman mentioned the Tampa Five yesterday in some of his statements, and what he said was, we all have to stand in solidarity with individuals and organizations who are in the struggle for democratic rights, as well as the right to be free. So I just really appreciate you, Alvaro, for bringing Laura Rodriguez here to the Life Malcolm Show.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be just affiliated or somewhat in the periphery of these young and dynamic people. Putting it together, showing the light, like you said. Showing us which way to fight back against all the attacks.
And so I'm here. If there's ever anything I can do to assist, let me know. I mean that sincerely. 100%. And y'all, that's a wrap. This has been the Life Malcolm Show. It's been an incredible show for me. It's definitely one of my favorites, and I think we're going on 3 years now. It's definitely one of my favorite shows. So we'll see y'all next time. Y'all tune in, and to be continued.